and let us fight for our people and for the sanctuary. We're fighting for the hearts and minds of our people that do not yet know who they are. But we are their champions. We are their superheroes, so to speak. Believe that. We're serious. Ain't no laughter. We ain't got time for shucking and jiving. We got issues going on with the nation of Israel. Our young men are so starved for leaders. And the mother recognizes that we have no stars, that we have no leaders, that we have no superheroes. And because of that absence of an image, all kinds of psychological destruction has permeated the brains of our people.
To be honest with you, pay attention. Sons of God!
Yeah. Us against the world, want what we deserve. War against our soul, it's a God we serve. Yeah. Us against the world, us against the world. Working for thy kingdom come, no time to observe. Us against the world, dragging rough we heard. Ain't no stopping this, 7,000 no reserve. Yeah. Us against the world, us against the world. Us against the world, us against the world.
Us against the world, overcoming all the odds. We go for the gusto. A salute to the gods and the captain of the host. The angels is cutthroat. It's a war for your soul. Army of the living God. They see us in order. They see the formation with boots on the ground.
All right, sister, my name's Officer Zephaniah. What's your name, sis?
Shadon.
Shadon. And did you vote today?
Yes, I did.
All right. And so who'd you vote for, if you don't mind me asking?
Biden.
Biden. All right. And does he propose change in the Black and Hispanic community? Is he somebody that is worth following, or?
I voted for him because he was Obama's vice president.
So he got some black on him.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. All right, I'm Officer Zephaniah, and I'm here with
Glenn.
Glenn. All right, Mr. Glenn. So my question is, did you vote?
Yes, I did.
And if you don't mind me asking, who'd you vote for?
Biden Harris.
All right, Joe Biden, right?
Correct.
So what does Joe Biden plan to do for the Black Hispanic community?
Well, it wasn't a matter of fact of the Hispanic and black community. It was a matter of getting Trump out.
Okay.
Trump has brought back all the racist things from the past that our forefathers and mothers stuff have fought for. So he opened up a great wound, and it was time to make some sort of change, so we had to start with that.
Okay, so it wasn't a matter of what is he going to do for me, but I don't like this other guy, so let me vote for this guy.
Right. Because if we stuck with Trump, we stand to lose grounds on our rights. They're slowly taking our rights away to do different things. They try to take your voting rights away. Affirmative action's been slowly peeled apart. They stacking the courts with all these conservatives.
You know, Joe Biden plans to do the same thing, right?
Well,
he mentioned that in his debate.
Hopefully.
No, he mentioned that in his debate that he exactly plans to do those exact same things, and specifically geared towards the Black and Hispanic community.
Well, the fight still goes on.
So I want to ask you about the voting process, right? In all the years you've been living, what has voting actually done for the Black and Hispanic community?
I don't see a real change because you vote. I just think that the politicians, they do what they want to do when they get in here.
So what was the necessity for you to vote?
To at least let our voice be heard.
But if, like you said, if that doesn't do anything, if you don't feel like it has any effect, then what's the point?
to do it for the world, to show your kids, the next generation. Maybe it'll change soon.
Okay. So I have another question about voting in general, the whole concept of voting, right? Let me ask you, for as many years as you've been living, as long as you've been living, what has the institution of voting fixed in the Black and Hispanic community?
Well, as far as I can see, it has never done too much of anything. It's made some changes over time, but those changes were, well, things were set up in, well, as far as putting roadblocks in the way to never let you get so far.
So you're saying voting has changed a few things, but for the most part has put roadblocks in the way?
No, there's always been roadblocks in the way, but voting has made it where we have made some type of strides, but, you know, those roadblocks have always been in the way to never let people of color achieve.
So this country, America, was built on the foundation of slavery, exploiting less disadvantaged people, right?
Yes.
So with that being said, do you think the people, the descendants of those people who exploited those people, that they would create a system where those people could vote or somehow overthrow that government?
Racism still exists, I think. So I don't think that'll never change.
So the system itself was not instituted by somebody who was going to allow, let's just be frank, Black and Hispanics a chance to get in power and change the system that they set up.
No, they're not going to let that happen. The only way I see Biden, I don't even think Biden going to win because he has a black vice president, so I don't know.
Okay. So specifically talking about the institution of voting, what changes has been made that has propelled the Black and Hispanic community forward?
Well, the things is, for voting, well, you got the Voting Rights Act.
Now you're aware with
for a long period of time, folks wasn't able to vote.
You're aware with the Voting Rights Act, right? Black people with the Voting Rights Act have to vote for their right to vote every few years, when that's supposed to be a right of a citizen.
Well, you know, voting is supposed to be a right for all citizens, but, you know, they try to curtail those voting rights.
But with the Voting Act, right? We have to re-vote for our right to vote every few years. So basically, if the ballot comes up and black people don't vote, we lose our right to vote.
That could happen.
So do you think that that's right?
That's not right.
So if a citizen is supposed to have the right to vote, that's never supposed to be taken away, does that mean that we're citizens?
We are citizens.
But they can take our right to vote away. That's supposed to be a right of a citizen, regardless of voting.
That's true. But we're marginalized.
No. Marginalization is something different. What we're talking about is your right to vote and your citizenship. You're supposed to be a citizen, which means nobody can take your right to vote away. But through the Voting Rights Act, we have to vote for our right to vote. If we don't vote, guess what? They'll take that right away. So that's not what should happen to a citizen. That means that we're not citizens.
Wow.
Did you know that?
Opener. That's something I got to look up on a little bit more.
Okay, so let me share a little bit of psychology with you, right? There's an exercise that was proposed to a think tank, right? And they said, okay, so you got one person, and he's a slave master, right? He's got a bunch of Negro slaves, right? And those Negro slaves are unruly. They keep running away, and he's trying to figure out a way to control them. So his cousin comes by, and he's like, hey, what we're gonna do is we're gonna give them a choice. And he's like, whoa, you can't give them a choice. They're gonna choose to run away. He goes, no, not a choice on whether to be free or not, but a choice on which one of us is gonna run the plantation. So then he goes to the slaves and he goes, look, you guys don't know how to run a plantation. You don't know how to govern yourselves. So we're gonna do that for you because we got many years of experience, right? So you guys get to choose every month which one of us is gonna be the master. Now, one of the slaves, well, before I finish, let me ask you what you think about that so far.
That's about how the country is being run. Just the way you just said it.
So one of the slaves goes, "Hey, wait a minute. This system, all we are choosing is which one of you gets to whoop us for the month.
Exactly.
So how are we free?"
We're not. We're still not free. It's still a lot got to be done, and I think you guys are doing what you can do, and I think this is about it that we're gonna get.
Are you familiar with the Bible?
Somewhat.
Somewhat. Now, do you read it yourself? Do you believe in it yourself?
I do.
Do you know what God says about voting?
No, I don't.
Do you mind if I show you?
Go ahead.
All right, come on. So we're going to start in the book of Deuteronomy, right?
Uh-huh.
Now, the book of Deuteronomy is written to the Israelites.
Uh-huh.
And the Israelites are blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, right? Those make up the 12 tribes of Israel. Now, this was the message that God had for them regarding voting and setting up a government or participating in a government, right?
Uh-huh.
There's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 17, verse 15. Thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom the Lord thy God shall choose.
So the first thing that we're supposed to do is when we set up a king or a leader over the Israelites, the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, it's supposed to be somebody who God chooses. That's number one.
One from among thy brethren shalt thou set.
Now, he has to be from among our brethren, meaning he has to be black, Hispanic, or Native Indian. Is Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, or Trump of our brethren?
No.
No. So that's number two, right? Come on.
One from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee. Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee.
He says, thou mayest not, meaning that's a commandment. He said, you cannot set a stranger, meaning another nation, over thee. That's a commandment. Now, did you ever read that before?
No, I haven't.
Did you know that was in the Bible?
No, I hadn't.
Did you know God felt that way about us voting for Biden or Trump or any of those people?
Well, I see now.
So if you had known that before you voted, would you have voted?
I still would have voted.
You still would have voted even though God said not to.
Well, I figure it's our duty to vote, to have some type of representation or some type of say in things. If you don't vote, you don't have no say in things. But God has the ultimate say.
And God said don't vote.
Well, now that makes me think.
All right, as long as you're thinking about it. So what is the solution for the black Hispanic community if voting's not it?
Getting together and stop killing each other. They want to holler Black Lives Matters, but they out here killing each other. Ain't nobody gonna never respect them. Police, law enforcement, nobody. As long as they out here killing each other.
I feel it. I feel it. So do you read the Bible at all?
So every now and then.
So do you know what God says about voting?
No, I never heard it.
Can I get a Bible? So we're gonna show you in the Bible what God says about voting, and this is specifically for the black and Hispanic community, because you never heard it before. Watch this. You got it?
Yes, sir. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 17 and verse 15. Thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom the Lord thy God shall choose.
So God said we're supposed to set a king that God chooses. Do you think God chose Biden? But you voted for him, right? Come on.
One from among thy brethren.
One from who?
Among thy brethren.
One from among your brethren, right? So the person that God is going to choose to set over you as a king, as a governor, a judge, is going to be of your people. Now, is Trump, Biden, Hillary, or anybody in the running of your people?
No.
So do you think they have your interests at heart?
No.
Come on.
One from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee. Thou mayest not.
Thou mayest not. Now, this is a commandment, right? This is one of God's commandments. Thou mayest not
set a stranger over thee.
Set a stranger to rule the children of Israel. What you think about that?
That's what's going on with the world. That's why it's going wrong, because they're not doing the right thing by the Bible.
Did you know that that was a commandment of God?
Never.
Now, if you knew that before you voted, would you have voted?
Probably not.
Probably not. So, all praises, sis. So, now I asked you a question. I said, what's the solution for the black and Hispanic community, right? So, let me show you in the Bible what God says the solution is. Give me Deuteronomy 30. Because there's a certain thing that we're going through as a community, right? We're the last hired, we're the first fired, school to prison pipelines, right? Now, one question before we read this, would you think that the black woman is oppressed as much as the black man in America?
I think the black man is more oppressed.
I think the black man is more oppressed. I would have to agree. But in the grand scheme of things, we oppress together, right? So now we're going to read what we're supposed to do in that oppression, how God's going to change that oppression. Watch.
Deuteronomy chapter 30 and verse 1. And it shall come to pass, when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse.
So what they don't teach us in social studies class is that at one time back in history, we actually ruled the world. That was the time of blessing. But now we've been from slavery to slavery all over the world. This is the time of curse. Come on.
Which I have set before thee.
Now God did this to us. Read.
And thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations.
So what we're going to call to mind is what God is saying. Don't set other nations over you. Come back to my commandments is pretty much what he's saying. Come on.
Whither the Lord thy God hath driven thee, and shall return unto the Lord thy God, and shall obey his voice according to all that I command thee this day.
So like you were saying, we got to stop killing each other. That's thou shalt not murder. But we also got to stop participating in useless distractions of this world, like voting. Don't set a stranger over your people. We need to look for our own leaders. And our leaders are going to be coming with our culture, the Bible, right? Come on.
Thou and thy children, with all thine heart and with all thy soul, that then the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity.
God said when we do this, he'll turn our captivity. Read it one more time.
That then the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all nations, whither the Lord thy God has scattered thee.
So like you said, we got to join together. God says when we return to his commandments and stop this useless voting, stop this useless marching, well, when we return to his commandments and his culture for us, our nationality, right, that he gave us, that he's going to return, turn our captivity, and gather us together as a people. How you feel about that?
I agree.
So you willing to do that?
I'm willing.
All right, no more voting?
No more voting.
All right, good job.
I almost didn't, but I had to do it.
Well, now you got a reason now.
We used to scream black power while heroin was pushed. But at the end of the day, nothing's in vain. IUIC has been given a vision. The tents of Judah has risen. Many has attempted the mission, minor murmuring, omitting, and missing the mark. Just reading that he had the flame of fire in his eyes gave us the spark. We on Paul's mission. We out on the road, purple and gold, from Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Ghana, Sierra Leone. 144,000 boots banging, concrete crackling. These are our men repented at heart. The scriptures is proof. IUIC, we deliver the truth.